So you guys who are going on to Skills USA, here's a video I made to kind of explain the circuit you're going to work with. You're going to work with a forward and a reversing motor starter. And so if you look carefully here, I've got this is called a wiring diagram, so it's a little different than the diagrams we're used to looking at. We're used to looking at the line diagrams. But the wiring diagram is drawn up and it is highlighting the actual high voltage or the motor voltage. So our motor is down here at this end, okay? And I've mentioned on our starters you can see terminal T1, T2, and T3. So that's where the power goes from the starter to the motor. So these wires right here are going to be who knows how long, wherever the motor starter is located to whatever the distance to the motor. So it's a little longer or more spread out than it looks, but this is why these drawings sometimes are a little bit confusing. So I'm going to highlight a couple more parts here. This section right here, those are our overloads. You can see it says OL. So that's our overload. We only have one overload section, and it's shared between the two contactors, and this right here represents the coil, and you can see those three poles right there. Those are the contactors. So this one had an F by it, it's the forward, or maybe it was reverse, I'm not sure. This was the reverse. It doesn't make a difference. So those are the contactors, and we've got the overloads, and then up here L1, L2, L3. Oftentimes when you're looking at a motor starter, we're going to have some fuses as well. So these are the fuses. Eventually we'll look at a combination motor starter that's going to combine both fuses, disconnect switch, and also a motor starter all in a single package. So those are kind of the components we're looking at. There's some auxiliary contacts here and here, and down here is our overload contact. So that would be represented by 95, 96. Okay, so I'm going to go on to another slide, and I'm going to show you exactly what's taking place here. So in this one I blew things up just a little bit. I got it a little larger so that hopefully you can see this a little better. You'll see I've also highlighted the power leads, so we're looking again at either a 480 volt or it might be 208 volt depending on the three-phase voltage that we're working with. And the thing to keep in mind is we're going to change any two of the leads, and we can change the direction of the motor. So for example, if we have our motor and let's say it's rotating, let's say it's rotating this direction, so that would be counterclockwise. Well, let's say we wanted to change that direction and we wanted instead the motor to go clockwise. How do we do that? Well, we're going to do that by changing any two leads. So now you need to follow along with the drawing here real carefully. And I'm going to use my laser pointer here to kind of highlight that. If you follow this red wire all the way out, it comes to the top, or the L1 side of the forward contactor, and then notice the wire just simply jumpers over and it goes over here to the reverse contactor, but notice it's on the L3 side, over on that contactor over there, the reverse contactor. Then we follow this middle one, the black one. Unfortunately the black wire is a little more difficult to see, but this one doesn't go to any different location. It just follows along. See how it comes right here to the middle? So it goes to the L2 terminal at the top. Again, it jumpers over and it goes also to the L2 terminal over on the reverse starter. So we got reverse here, forward here. Then the last wire is this blue wire, and it comes over here and it goes to the L3 terminal on the forward starter, and you follow it over here and it goes over to the L1 terminal on the reverse starter. So that's the top, that's our L1 or our line side. Now watch what happens down here below. Again, we're at the forward. See how I've got red here on this side? Look at what happened. Down here on the bottom we've got a blue wire. So we've relocated that phase. So now this blue wire down here, what happens is when the forward contactor is energized, I've got my voltage carrying through down here. Okay, so the voltage is going through this contactor and it comes over and it ends up going to the bottom of this contactor. Now granted, the contactor, the reverse contactor, is open, so it's not going to travel up this way. Instead, it's going to go through this overload section and go to the motor. And so what we do is, notice over here on the 3, we've got a red wire over here. So we've actually flip-flopped those phases so that in the event we're running in reverse or we're running in forward, one contactor is going to make the motor spin one direction and the other contactor is going to make the motor spin in the other direction. And all we did is we flip-flopped this blue, notice, is way here on the outside, and then over here it is on the outside over here. So depending on which contactor is energized, the blue and the red change phase.